The Spactravideo Hardware, Part 2. 1983, the CompuMate. The CompuMate, or SV010 as it was called, was part of a movement to offer affordable personal computing capabilities by expanding existing game consoles. Although the CompuMate had limited performance, it served as a precursor to Spactravideo's more serious attempts at the emerging computer markets.
Historical context.
The CompuMate SV010 was the first home computer console peripheral. This was released to the Atari 2600 game console. The hardware add-on was manufactured by Spactravideo International and was first released on January 6, 1983 at the Winter Consumer Electronics Show. The CompuMate's design was to turn the popular game console into a functional low-cost personal computer. All of this was in providing a keyboard and basic programming capabilities in cartridge.
Manufacturing details.
Manufactured by Spactravideo International, SVI, an American computer software house founded in 1981, and later developing add-ons and computer hardware. The CompuMate was first unveiled at the Winter Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas on January 6, 1983, and with its original introductory price, back then was a low $79.99.
The CompuMate compatibility.
The CompuMate was designed specifically as an add-on for the Atari 2600 home video game console and was not released for any other hardware or console. The CompuMate was also licensed for release and sale in Germany. In Germany and Europe, it was marketed as the Universum Heimcomputer by the well-known catalog company, Kell.
In-depth features.
The CompuMate connected to the Atari 2600 via the cartridge port and the two joystick ports. Its key features included a 42-key sensor touch membrane keyboard, with 3 included built-in software titles in its 16K ROM, the software featuring an interpreter from Microsoft Basic, a simple music program, and a drawing program. The CompuMate had a very limited 2K of built-in RAM for user programs, and thus allowing for simple programs with around 100 lines of code. The storage of typed-in programs could be saved and loaded via an audio cassette deck when connected to the mini jacks in the CompuMate. The display capabilities of the CompuMate were constrained by the Atari 2600 hardware, offering a text mode of 10 lines by 12 characters and a graphic resolution of 40 by 40 pixels. And with 10 colors, it was a short-lived hardware add-on.
So guys, there we go. The first piece of hardware that Spactravideo made, other than joysticks. As the video said, it was at the same time as they released the 318, which is next on our list. This was a precursor. I think it was they're dabbling their toes into the PC era before they built their own machine, or before it was actually ready. So what we'll do is we'll go over on the bench now, and we'll open it up and have a look inside. Alright, so we'll just switch over and carry on. Right, so now what we'll do is we'll open her up and have a look. So it came in the box. This is part of my own collection. So it's in the box, which it's not 100%, but it's better than nothing, and it is actually a box, and it has the polys inside as well, which holds the unit. And so in these, when you got them, they came with this. Now I can't remember if there's anything else that came with this or not, but it does have the cassette leads, so you can use a generic cassette deck for loading software in and saving software onto tape, and that's all done through this cartridge that plugs into the Atari 2600. Now, as it alluded to, it is limited in colours, so you only got, like, I think it was 10 colours or something like that, and that was because of the power of the 2600 that it used and its capabilities. So yeah, the headphone jack and that is on the side, and the microphone jack's on the side for the tape deck where they go in. And the box has the same serial number as this unit, and as you can see, it's got some of the polystyrene damage to it. This is where for some reason the polystyrene decides to stick onto everything, and it was the type of polystyrene that was used. It does that to a lot of vintage stuff. You can get it off with a bit of work, and what people do is then they'll generally get some Glad wrap or shrink wrap, and they'll wrap everything up or put them in plastic bags and that, and then put them back in the poly, and then that way it doesn't stick to the unit, it'll stick to the plastic if it does. So that's what we have. And what I'll do is I'll open up the keyboard first, so I'll spin this around and get my screwdrivers out. And awesome little sets these if you ever want to get one. This is a one for doing phones and tablets and stuff like that. And in this side it has all the spudges and everything for opening up cases and that. And then on this side it has all your tool heads and more spudges and other bits and pieces. So really, really good toolkit if you want one. I just grabbed my eyes, so I need to see what size bits are in here for the one I want. It's that one. The only thing I find with this box is because it's double-sided, the tips are actually quite a way inside, and sometimes it's hard to get them out, and I've got to use something like a pair of pliers or a tweezers or something to grab them to pull them out so I can get them out of the box. But that's minor. Right, so we'll go through and we'll take this out, and there's 6 screws in the back of this. Now this was as I said, was the very beginning foray into, sorry, there's 3 screws in the back, not 6. Was their first foray into a computer as such, and for what it was in its day, it was probably really, really good. It wasn't anything spectacular, but I think it gave them a grounding on how to build a computer. And the other thing too is that they had these horrible, like the Spectrums and that, did these horribly keyboards, bubbly keyboards, which you push down and it was like a bubbled plastic or metal under them, we'll find out in a minute, and it pushed down on contacts. So when this comes apart, you just got to be careful because this is clipped down the back along here. Lighten this up a little bit because I think it's a little bit dark. And yeah, they weren't very good. Those sort of keypads weren't very good. Be careful I don't break these clips. Yeah, let's pop that one. And I don't want to lose those. That one's clipped, that one's unclipped. So what I will do is grab grab a spudger from out of here, that might be better. That one, that's the one I want. Set one down the very end to get, pop him out. Come on, out you come. I haven't actually opened one of these up before, so it's my first time looking inside, same as you guys. Like that, and so that's the back that comes off, and then put that down there, and then inside, as you can see, here's the keyboard. This is the back of it, and those are the jacks. There's the LED, and in the back of this there's just a little bit of TTL logics. There's some there's a 4017BE and 14584. So there's a few, probably be multiplexers or level shifters or something, and a pile of diodes, some resistors, some filtering caps, and a cable, of course. LED resistor for the LED. So take these three out, and we'll take the keyboard out and have a look at the other side. Right, and that's those three out, and then this should gently just pop up and lift up, and that's the front of the case. Comes out, and then if we flip this over, there we have the other side, and this looks like it's probably one of the ones that was glued on. They have like a self-adhesive on it that glues them on. Yes, it is. So unfortunately I can't get this off, but I would say that these are either a metal or a carbon. Feel like metal to me because they're quite hard. They're like a metal dome, like the joysticks used to do, the quick shot ones. And then under here it'll be a pad, probably 2 halves of a pad, and when you push the metal down it shorts the two sides, and then that goes through to one of these, and then or through a set of diodes, and will then output into this the information it needs. But as you can see, these were very, very simple. This is the CompuMate copyright Spactravideo made in Hong Kong version 1.2. So there's not a lot on these that can go wrong. You might find it could be the LED or a diode, or maybe the logic chip might go or something. The main one will be these jacks, and as you can see, as with most of this sort of stuff, it gets quite tarnished, so that needs a good going over with some contact cleaner. Quite amazed that for its age it had a 3mm LED in it. So from back then I thought it would have been a 5, because 5s were the most common back when this came out in 83, I think it was. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll pop this back into its case, so I don't want to get it too damaged. So we can pop this back in here now. So we've had a bit of a look at the board, and it's easy to remember the screws that hold this into the back are the short ones with the little washers on them, and there's only 3 of those, so they just go in and hold the keyboard back into it. Right, so that's all back together, and this does fit. There's a slot they purposefully made in the back here for this to plug into to keep it tidy. So it was a nice thought. And as to using this, you did have to plug both the joysticks in, and that gave you access to other ports that it needs off this adapter to run the PC inside your Atari. So what we'll do is we'll take these two screws out and have a look inside here now. And on the back of this box here, it actually has left and right for the two joystick leads. So your left one goes on the left side and the right one goes on the right side. Now I don't know if that allows you to still use joysticks, because there is no other ports after that, so it's a little bit unsure. But I mean, that's just something I need to have a look at. Now this hasn't had the QC broken on it, and it hasn't had the Spactravideo label broken on it either. So I'm going to see if I can gently take those off without ruining them. So I'll look for my little scalpel. Not sure where the little scalpel set's gone. It'll be better because it's a finer blade to get under there. Alright, so I've got a blade now, so just part of a Stanley knife blade, or a box cutter blade, whatever you want to call them. So I can't find my little scalpel set, so I'm just going to gently go underneath this. The other thing you can do is you can use hot air to soften the glue, but I just want to be careful I don't do anything to the case. Yeah, it's not wanting to play nice either. I may have to use some hot air on it to soften that glue up, because I'll have to do it for the top too. So, but I'm not going to put it on hot. I don't want it too hot. Pop it down to about 100 and see how we go with that. I don't want to melt the plastic, so this will probably be ABS or something, so I wouldn't want to go much more than 100 or so on it to make it too hot and deform. I'll give that a go, see if that wants to come up any easier. It could be just the type of glue they've used as well. No, doesn't want to come off at all. I think the only thing I'm really going to be able to do is to cut that down the middle and to open it. So, but from what I remember when I got this, they did say that it wasn't working. So I'm not sure what the story of that's going to be. Ah, the back comes off when you undo those two screws. But I want to have a look at these fingers, because if any of the fingers on that cartridge are a bit buggered, then it's not going to work. So see, they're all soldered, which is a pain, trying to get that whole cartridge out. Oh, that's alright. Ah, it wasn't stuck there. It's actually sticky on the back here, but it actually hadn't adhered to the other side of the case, so I lucked out on that one. So put those up there, move that blade out of our way, and then what we can do is we'll slide this down and get it out of our way, so we can have a look at this board. And that's just a locator that when it goes in, it just makes sure you put the cartridge in the right way. We've got to remember to put that back in the right way around. And as you can see, it's pretty much just like a standard cartridge board that the 2600 uses. And they have a couple of, they have a ROM, and I think that's a RAM from memory. And they have just some logic on here. A little bit of logic and transistor and some passives. Oh, they have two ROMs. They're actually daisy chained, so we can get you to have a look at that a bit. see that a little bit easier, so you can actually see down in there. I'll try and zoom you in a bit so it might get a bit blurry, guys, until I can get you right again. Right, so there we are. So down in here there's actually two ROMs. I've got one on top of the other, and I've actually pulled, I think it's the enable. I pulled the enable pin out and wired it separately, and that will be so that they can turn it on and off. So you probably find one's high and one is low. And that's the only problem I found with this, is once I start playing around with it, the focusing goes all over the place. So yeah, so one of these will be high and the other one will be low, and I'm pretty sure it's the select line. It's the only one that's popped out, and in all good fashion, like they do, everything's soldered in, nothing socketed. So yeah, so nothing at all is socketed on this thing. It's all just physically soldered to the board itself. So it would have been cheap to manufacture. That is a D4016C-2. So I think that's a 200 nano or 200 milli 200 nano. I think it's a DRAM from memory. I think it is a DRAM. I'd have to jump online and have a look, but I'm pretty sure that is a DRAM, and that'll be the ROM which will have all the operating system and software inside it. So, and this will just be a little bit of switching logic. But yeah, this thing's driving me nuts. So yeah, not lots inside these. So the Atari 2600 was doing a lot of the heavy work with its graphics chip and other bits and pieces and sound chip and stuff in it, and this was just more or less interfacing with it. And it's a bit like the MSX add-on for the 328 and the 318 that you used to be able to get a long time back, and that plugged into the expansion port on the side, and it turned the 318, 328 into a real MSX. Well, sort of a real MSX. But yeah, so that's what's inside. That's what's inside this, guys. So, as I said, there's not a lot inside them, but it's interesting to see what was in here. And it's CompuMate version 1.2, so it's the same as the keyboard, same revision, and made in Hong Kong also. So yeah, so that's inside the CompuMate. So yeah, interesting little machine. I don't have a working 2600 to display it running for you, sorry. I do have one that I need to have a look at that I was given a wee while ago, and I need to make sure that everything's working, and I want to do the composite mod on it as well, because I think it's only RF and then I can't record the RF for you. So yeah, but what I will do is I will put all this back together and zoom this thing out so it stops going in and out of focus all the time, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I'll switch you over and we'll have a little bit of a chat. Well guys, there we go. So that's the CompuMate, and that's the insides of it. Nothing really great that stands out. As I did say, it was their first foray into a computer as such. even though it was a hardware add-on. And they were learning, as everybody does, along the lines. They started with joysticks, and then they went into that, and then onto computers themselves. So hopefully you're finding this interesting, and we've got the proper hardware coming up shortly. So keep an eye out for that, and it gets a little bit more interesting. Alrighty, so as I always say, have a great day, have a great week, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.